Ms. Dugan, with you, and again, thank you for traveling here from a long distance to share your experience with us. The testimony we have received about the European Union's experience with cap and trade has not been uniform. Some have suggested that it's been a good experience. Others have said that it could have been a better designed system, that there have been significant flaws in that first phase. Would you care to respond to that? How would you characterize the overall experience? Specifically, I understand your first phase was designed to be somewhat experimental. How would you say the experience has been with that first phase? What have you learned from it? What do you intend to do differently in the second phase?
The first phase, as you rightly point out, was designed as an experimental phase, and as I mentioned in my opening statement, there were good reasons to actually have that experimental phase prior to the 2008-2012 Kyoto period, where member states do have obligations under Kyoto. And therefore it was very rushed. Implementation was rushed. Trading was due to start on the 1st of January 2005. The UK, although it worked hard and put a lot of resources into this, did not have its final approval and its registry live until May of that year. And we were one of the earliest states to achieve that milestone. And so one of the things that happened in 2005 and early 2006 was that final decisions were made on allocations, registries came live, and allocations were made. So volatility in the market in the first phase was definitely due to those, essentially, the decisions on allocation and the availability of allowances. And I think if we'd had more time, then clearly all of us would have preferred to have had that happen in more harmony prior to the start of the scheme. So I think that's one thing, is that trading schemes do take quite a long time to design, and getting that institutional framework in place is time-consuming, often difficult. We've had, in the first phase, 95% free allocation. That does not mean that facilities get 95% of need. It means that, as a minimum, states, once they made their allocation decision, should give 95% of that allocation for free. But different states made different allocation decisions, and I think one of the things that became apparent last May when the first results were announced was that some states had either cut their emissions or they had surplus allowances, other states didn't. UK, having had experience of its own voluntary trading programme and more emissions data, I suggest, than many, actually set our cap at 35 million below what the electricity power sector needed, and 27 million below need altogether. So we were one of the ones that were buying in from elsewhere.
Let me ask this other question, if I might, because I only have 2 minutes left.
Oh, sorry.
That's quite all right. Could you describe the effect from the vantage point of industry in the United Kingdom of the implementation of cap and trade there? Has there been disadvantage to industry, and if so, to what extent? And have particular industrial sectors suffered unusual disadvantage in comparison with others? And describe, if you would, also the effect of the implementation of cap and trade to the average consumer of energy in the United Kingdom. So from the vantage point of both industry and consumers, what has been the experience?
The experience, UK industry, we made a decision to put the burden on large electricity producers for phase one and for phase two of the programme, because they are insulated from international competition and they have an ability to pass through costs, so that they would be less impacted, if you like. Other sectors of industries that were covered by the programme were allocated at predicted need. And in fact, in that very first year, as I said, the electricity producers were, I think, 37 million short of allowances, and the rest of UK industry was, in aggregate, 10 million long on allowances. So that although they faced some increase in electricity prices, they also had allowances that they could sell on the market. They can mitigate against that by reducing their energy use and selling the allowances back to the electricity producers. Clearly, some sectors are more subject to international competition than others, and the analysis that we've done to date shows that of all the sectors that potentially could be covered by the scheme, the aluminium sector is the most vulnerable to international competition. In the UK, they have only been included insofar as they have combustion installations that meet the definition of the programme, and they therefore have had a free allocation to cover that. But there is clearly a need for more analysis, but they're the most vulnerable sector that we've seen. Other sectors are relatively insulated from international competition, some are regionally traded. It's one of the things that we're looking at, but we only have 1 year's data to date. The second year's data will come through soon.
And finally, the price of electricity at the retail market, how has that been affected?
The price of electricity did go up during 2005.
By how much?
I don't have the exact figures. I will get back to you. The largest part of that increase was due to the rise in natural gas prices, and I think the US also saw increases in electricity prices over the same period.
For unrelated reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my time has expired. Thank you. And let me recognize